This is a video and podcast of the Punchy Pack. I am Chantal Inen, entrepreneur and initiator. And the last 8 months, we've been working with different generations, including young professionals from different organizations. And we've been working on social and ecological impact cases. We've been working with speakers, experts, the Rotterdam School of Management and the Impact Institute. And today we're presenting to you the impact cases. So, who do we have here today? Sida.
Yeah, hello Chantal.
Hi, welcome. Next to Sida, we also have Jurgen, my
For
co-host.
Sure. Yes.
So, I'm really curious, Sida, who are you?
Well, I'm iOS developer from ABN AMRO, and I've worked there for the 7 years. And in my own personal development there, I also stumbled upon the sustainability field, and I joined this project to sort of further my own interest and capabilities, while doing something that actually has impact. And to me personally, it's very important.
Great.
Yeah.
And you've been working with a team, right? A great team of 5 amazing women.
Yes.
And share with us, what have you developed? It's like a crop insurance, right?
Indeed. So in these past 8 months, we developed a parametric crop insurance meant for farmers to stop using pesticides on their crops.
Okay. Wow.
But maybe we should then first talk about why the pesticides are bad. I mean, we all have a general idea about it, but can you be specific about...
Right. So indeed, it's so you probably heard about in general what biodiversity is, and there is a lot of talk about the negative impacts on biodiversity, the loss of biodiversity. And pesticides is also one of the big contributing factors to the loss of biodiversity in the soil. And that affects it affects many layers. So one of the layers is if you lose the biodiversity in the soil, that makes things harder to grow. Vegetables lose their nutrition. Did you know that broccoli that we eat today has 3 times less nutrients in it and calcium than 70 years ago? And there are more layers. So it also these pesticides, they seep into the groundwater, and over the time they can reach our drinking water that we drink. And and also for the farmers themselves, did you know that there is research done that there is a correlation between the intensive use of pesticides and Parkinson's disease that the farmers develop in later years?
Okay.
Yeah, so there's a lot of aspect that gets affected from the consumer, so what we eat, to the farmer, how it is, and obviously to the ecosystems and the collapse of the local ecosystems.
But why do we still use pesticides?
Good question. Well, a farmer usually will tell you that they use pesticides in order to maintain a certain expectation of the crop yield and make sure that they can still keep on delivering us a certain amount of food.
And make a profit.
Yes. Yeah. It's very tough for them out there.
And so with the 5 of you, we started 8 months ago. Tell me a bit about the process that we went through. How did you go about the steps?
The steps, yes. Yeah. So in the team, we started first by finding a topic that we feel really passionate about, just on a very personal level, and that ended up being biodiversity. And I think also we kind of shared on an individual level a certain level of eco-grief over the topics that involve biodiversity.
Eco-grief, you say?
Yes, eco-grief.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that word.
We need a hashtag eco-grief.
Hashtag eco-grief. But then from there on, we realized that as a bank, we can't really directly do much about the soil and the biodiversity loss in the soil. So we thought that the best way to go about this is to reach out to a target group that has direct impact on the soil and can directly do something about it, and then find ways to help them so then they feel incentivized to help the soil on behalf of us, basically.
So this group of 5 women went to a farm?
Essentially, yes. And obviously, not just going to a farm, it was also just calling a lot and getting to know people a lot and finding all sorts of channels and connections on reaching the farmers. Because they're also not the easiest target group to reach out to. And especially if you're a banker, to just go and talk to them and be hey, we're not here to do anything to sell you anything or do anything bad to you, but we just really want to hear your concerns. and we know that you're being very also like shunned by the society in a way, like, you know, with how much blame you get. But we don't want to put blame on you, but we want to understand what your problems are. And from there on, we want you to tell us what we can do for you.
And how did you come up with something like a crop insurance, or maybe even explain what is crop insurance and how do if a little plant dies, how much money do you get for that plant? How does that work?
So basically, how we came about the idea for crop insurance started from hearing what problems we heard from the farmers. And there were two main concerns, essentially, that we were hearing. So first was like the financial concern. So usually a typical crop farmer will have a lot of financial restraints, like they will have active loans that they can't like get rid of. They have, for example, like a very marginal like profit from what they grow, etc. So there's a lot of these constraints. And then another one is a psychological constraint, like, and this specifically concerns like our target group of farmers who go from conventional farming, so using pesticides, like, etc., and then towards what we call regenerative farming, so a type of farming which concerns a more like nature-aware, ecosystem-aware practices. So it's like stop using pesticides and like grow different crops like in the same like patches and like don't till the soil, these kind of practices. And there's this psychological concern, and one farmer put it like in a very nice way. He said that basically when you're a traditional farmer, you know how to control the farm, and you control everything with pesticides, with chemicals, etc. So you can cut and calculate in a quite predictable way. But if you start going into this regenerative farming, you have to let go of that, and you have to start trusting the nature, and that the nature will do it for you like the right way. And at the same time, like, you're going to start making mistakes in that process. And what it means that then they get like this uncertainty that, hey, I'm learning new practices, but then I don't have the financial security to make the mistakes and to learn from them until I fully establish myself as this different type of farmer. And that's where we stepped in to help with this insurance. And
so now practical, how does it work? Do you pay for each little plant that doesn't survive, or you look at the whole crop?
Yeah. So on a very general level, I would say that the idea works like that we go to the farm, like we have a external partner that would help monitor the farm and like would see, okay, how is this crop doing compared to like surrounding lands? What are the conditions there? Then we will insure the farmer. So in our pilot, we're going to insure specifically potatoes against potato blight. So it's a type of like a virus that is very concerning to the farmers. And then we're going to check the parameters, how to detect potato blight, how to make sure that the farmer did like his best or their best in also growing the potatoes correctly. And then let's say if potato blight takes over the potatoes, the crop dies, then we will reinsure farmer for their loss.
So this doesn't exist, right? What is your ambition? What's like the next steps?
Right. So indeed, like this insurance that I was talking about is just like a very first step in a much bigger vision that we have. And the bigger vision is to show like to other countries, to other companies that you can do this, that it's also possible to support this transition in regenerative farming, in more sustainable farming, and set an example.
And you already do insurancing within ABN AMRO, or you work with partners? Like, how does that work?
Yeah. So indeed, ABN AMRO has existing insurances. We don't have insurances specifically for farmers yet. But the way it works also that ABN has external insurancing companies that we cooperate, that take in like the whole like magic of the insurances behind them, and then we spread across the risks, like we share it across the parties. And essentially that's what we are going to do with this project as well. So we have already found a partner, an insurance company called Hortisecure, and they're interested in our business case. And then they also gave us some ideas how to further develop this case. And from there on, like we hope to like nourish this partnership and continue.
Because how did the people from high up in the organization, in your bank, like react to your plans? Where they're like enthusiastic because it's so fresh and original, and it's really about what's important now for society with whole climate change and everything.
Absolutely, yeah.
Or were they like, well, we're not going to do insurance for farmers?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think so far, like internally, we had a lot of support. Like we heard a lot of enthusiasm about our idea, which I'm also very happy about, like because it's always like a journey with a lot of uncertainties. And at the same time, I think it aligned very nicely with the current goals we have at ABN. So internally, like we started calling ourselves more like a transition bank. And that means that we are transitioning also in terms of like sustainability. And one of the like goals that we have is also to help our clients in their journeys of becoming more sustainable. So I think this proposition kind of really fits in with that idea. And obviously externally, like all of the banks in Netherlands get a lot of public pressure and like high expectations of performing well and like really taking seriously the issues of sustainability and then actually doing something about it.
Yeah, great.
And you probably need people for the next steps, maybe farmers for like a pilot plan. Like what is your call to action?
Yes, our call to action is, so internally, we really hope that all the people at ABN continue supporting us, that they feel also the same value into investing in this idea as we do. And also to the farmers, like if anyone like happens to hear this podcast, like we really hope that they reach out to us, like if they're excited about this idea, if they have any questions, or if they have some suggestions on improving it, we're really very open. And we're excited to get to know them better.
Thank you so much.
Fantastic.
Thank you, Sida.
Thank you.